All right, we're talking about the best practices for making your post on Craigslist. Some of this will also apply to the way Facebook Marketplace works, but we're going to focus specifically on Craigslist. So we're on a blank listing. All right, we're going to use the coffee table or the table one that we showed in an earlier video, just so you can get an idea, because what you're going to focus on is the title, your price, your description, and your pictures. And just this can make the difference between selling something and, you getting it for free, okay? So we're going to take a coffee table that is for sale right now, okay? MCM wood coffee table. This is just for sale on Craigslist. But one of the things that I want to point out right now is the picture, okay? There's not a lot of clutter around it, even though obviously the flowers don't come with it. It decorates it nicely. It's in a nice, well-lit room. They show different angles of it so you can see what the legs look like, okay? So don't just take one picture of it. Get multiple pictures, especially if it's something that has, multiple angles where people want to see the whole thing. Okay? So, and well lit and not a lot of other junk around. Let me show you the difference of the free one that we saw earlier. Okay? Look, it's just butted up against something else. There's a bunch of stuff in the background. It's not even centered on this rug, which doesn't seem like a big deal, but all this makes people feel that the people didn't care about it. Of course they're giving it away free because it's garbage. So they do show the leaf, but what they could have done is put the leaf in so it shows the full size. People want to visualize what they're getting, and so take advantage of your ability to take pictures. You could zoom in on this etching and show what it looks like. You could show the underneath side, so of the legs, so they could see. You could put it squarely on the mat or remove the mat completely so that this is better looking. The better looking your pictures are, the more money it will command, okay? Then let's look at some of the description, okay? It's pretty heavy, okay? You could change that wording to nice and sturdy, well-built table as opposed to just heavy, okay? They do say sturdy down here, all right? They do mention the scrapes. This is one of the decisions that you will need to make, okay? These people have a good description. Gorgeous mid-century wooden coffee table that perfectly fills a living room's space. You're not just saying this is a table. You are describing it in a way that makes them emotionally interested in it. Ooh, it's gorgeous. It's a very good descriptive word. It perfectly fills a living room's space, okay? Again, they mention the scuffs and scrapes, but consistent with age. So you should expect that this is going to be a little beat up with, how long. So why this listing is so much better than the other one. So if we're creating a listing like that, we're not just going to type big oak table. We're going to go nice and well-built, sturdy oak table, okay? Then we need to choose the price. I always start with the price that I would be happy getting, okay? Now, if I don't think that I'm ever going to get $100 for it, I'm not going to price it for $100 and wait for weeks and weeks and weeks hoping that somebody just happens to buy it. But if I think I could reasonably get $50, I'll put $50. And if it doesn't move after a week or two, I'll drop it down to 30, or I'll put up an OBO, okay? Because so often people will just pay what you're listing, or they will text you and say, hey, will you take this? If you put $20, somebody's going to text you and say, will you take 10? Whereas if you put 50, somebody's going to text you and say, will you take 20? If you put way too high, though, probably nobody's going to text you at all. All right. Then when you come to the description, again, something more like this. If it's, if it's not gorgeous and it's not mid-century, then you're not going to lie about it. Okay. But you want to describe it. So you want it to evoke some emotion in it. So something like, beautifully crafted oak table with unique design will fit perfectly in your dining room or whatever. Okay? And then give them a reason. Hate to see this piece of furniture go, but just don't have the room for it anymore. We'll be happy to see it go to a nice new home. Okay, that will bring up the level of the type of person that's looking for your stuff. Okay, then you can decide. Okay, these are some of the things that you need to decide. Are you going to mention damage? Okay, so like if you guys saw the chairs video that I did, which I might do a recap on that in another video, 2 of the chairs had some surface level damage. I personally like to mention the damage ahead of time and still ask the higher price because I'm telling them it's still worth it, and then they're not surprised when they show up and there's damage, because then they're going to look for that as a reason to want to bring the price down. If I've already mentioned it and said it's worth $50, but there's slight scuffing and maybe even take a picture of it, they show up knowing I expect that price with the damage already mentioned. Whereas if I don't mention it and they show up and say, wait, this has damage, then they have room for them in their mind to dicker with you with the price and bring it down. So I like to mention, anything that could be of concern when they visually see it in person, because then I also don't have people showing up that go, oh, it's damaged, and then they're wasting my time. I want as few people to see this as possible before it actually sells. I want the very first person to that sees it to buy it. That's my goal. So if it did have a little bit of damage, I would mention it, and then they also know that you're not hiding anything. Okay, then you're going to list it like new. Okay, you can decide whether to show your phone number or not again. All right, we'll go to continue. All right, I didn't put in a price or my postal code. Let's do that just to. Okay, so let's say I was going to ask $50 for that table. Again, this is just an example. Go to continue. Again, we'll just pick an area that's close to your house. Okay, then add images. Okay, you don't have to add 100 images. Okay, just make sure that the lighting is good. You show the different, if it has multiple sides or different pieces, show it in that. Decorate it a little bit. If it's a table, put flowers on it. Put a nice mat underneath it, or remove the mat at all. So if you've got nice hardwood floors, make sure there's not another bunch of junk laying around. Don't have papers and, your mail sitting on top of the desk. Make it look like you have prepared this, that it's always this nice and ready to sell. When I took the chairs pictures recently, I lined them up nice and clean right on the rug in my living room. It's a nice rug. They looked real straight and right, there for people to see. I took pictures of the damage so that they could understand what it was before they showed up. These are your best practices for selling on Craigslist. Now, keep in mind, do not spend hours on this. Spend 15 minutes. Take a couple of good pictures and spend 5 minutes writing a kind of nice description. Do not spend hours doing this. It's not going to make a big enough difference. Remember, we want to get through this process of doing this the 0 to 1,000 as quickly as possible to make that money to move on to part 2. So don't get overwhelmed by this. You can't really screw it up.